Hello students, welcome to IAS by Heart. Welcome to the 18th session of the Prelims East series. Today is 23rd of March. Tomorrow will be the last day for applying for UPSC Prelims 2021. So I request all of the people who have not applied yet to apply immediately. Okay? All right. Okay, let's come back here. Today is the 18th session. We have 10 questions here today. Without any delay, let's jump into the first question. Consider the following provisions with regard to Indian polity. So, two-third majority in parliament for constitutional amendment and election of the members of Rajya Sabha on the basis of proportional representation. Okay, we have two statements and they are asking these provisions were incorporated from which of the following elements? I want you to give your answers in the comment box below. I'll give you 5 seconds. So these two provisions, they are taken from the Constitution of South Africa. The answer to this question is option D. Okay, you have to understand, before understanding the Indian polity, you have to understand the different elements that we borrowed from the best constitutions of the world. Okay, that is what makes our constitution very unique. We had enough material to understand the polity and working of countries from different countries. So let's see about these options first. The parliament is vested with the powers to amend the constitution. Okay, here you have to understand that only the parliament can amend the constitution, not the president or governor or the cabinet themselves. Only the parliament can amend the constitution. Okay, and they can do so by addition of provisions or variation of existing provisions or repealing any of the provisions. All of them is done by Parliament under Article 368. Okay. And under Article 368, we also talk about a special majority. So what is the special majority? This is a majority of the total membership of each house and also a majority of not less than 2/3 of the members present and voting. Suppose we have 500 members, then a majority of the total membership of the house is 250 plus. Okay, at least 251. So you need at least the support of 251 along with a majority of not less than 2/3 of the members present and voting. So at least 250 members have to be present, and in that 251, the resolution has to be supported by 2/3 majority. Okay, so that is what this provision states. This is what you have to know about special majority. So let's see about the different provisions which we borrowed from different constitutions of the world. So first of all, we have the United States Constitution. We borrowed preamble, the aspect of being a written constitution, the federal structure of government, that is having a center government, having a state government and all. And then the fundamental rights, it was derived from the USS Bill of Rights of United States. The functions of president and vice president are derived from United States. Also the provision of vice president leading the second house, that is leading the Rajya Sabha, is also a provision taken from US Constitution. And then we have the independence of judiciary, judicial review done by courts, and the removal of Supreme Court, High Court judges, that those removal procedures. All of these are brought from USA. That is, the president will be the head of the country, while prime minister will be the head of government. Okay, so there they have a nominal head as the crown. Queen Elizabeth II is their nominal head. She heads the country, and you have to note that United Kingdom is not a republic, whereas we are a republic. That is, any person fulfilling certain criteria can become the president of the country, whereas no common person can become the nominal head of the country in United Kingdom. So that is why they are not called a republic, whereas India is called a republic. Okay, and then the designation of prime minister we saw right now. And then the cabinet system of ministers, the parliamentary form of government, bicameralism, that is having a Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, a speaker in Lok Sabha, single citizenship. All of these provisions are taken from the United Kingdom. And we have 3 provisions from Australian Constitution, that is having a concurrent list, that is a list where both central government and state government can act upon. Okay, those are the provisions in these lists can be laws relating to provisions in these lists can be made by both central government and state government. And in case of any discrepancies, the law made by the center will prevail. Okay. And we have a language of the preamble, the provision regarding commerce, trade, and intercourse. That is the right to trade, commerce, and have intercourse. It is common throughout the country. This is also taken from the Australian Constitution. And then we have a Canadian Constitution, the idea of federation with a strong center. That is central government will have all the residual powers. Okay. The residual powers are vested with the center, which makes the center stronger than the states. And then distribution of powers between the center and state, it is also based on the Canadian Constitution. And like I said, the residuary power rests with the center. And then this is very, very important. We brought DPSP from Irish Constitution. Okay, and the method of election of president and the nomination of members in the Rajya Sabha. All of these are taken from Ireland. And the term procedure established by law. So that is taken from Japan, but we also follow due process of law. Due process of law. In certain aspects. That is taken from US again. Okay. And then this is an economic provision called 5-year plans. It was taken from Russia, former Soviet Union. Also, fundamental duties were also taken from Russia. And the Weimar Constitution, in Weimar Constitution, we took this suspension of fundamental rights during emergency. That is taken from the German Constitution. Even though the fundamental rights are suspended, rights Article 20 and 21 will remain even during emergency in India. Okay, that's what you have to note here. Let's move on to the next question. So this question is from economy. Okay, pre-pack, an economic term, is seen in the news in the context of. Okay, we have 4 options here. I'll give you 5 seconds to give me an answer. The answer to this question is option C, insolvency resolution process. Let's see more about this in the coming slide. So first, let's see why it was in news. Recently, a subcommittee of the Insolvency Law Committee has recommended pre-pack framework. Okay, pre-pack framework within the basic structure of the IBC code. Okay, and it was headed by MS Saho, Chairperson, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India. So let's see what pre-pack is. First of all, pre-pack is an agreement for the resolution of the debt of a distressed company through an agreement between secured creditors and investors instead of a public bidding process. Suppose you own a company and you cannot repay your loans. The usual process is it will go for public bidding. Okay, it will go for public bidding. But instead of going for public bidding under the Insolvency Bankruptcy Code, pre-pack is a concept where the creditors will find or will reach an agreement with potential investors, okay, who will inherit the debt and run the company. Okay, so I hope you understand. So suppose you have a company and you cannot repay your loans, and then the resolution process will start, and in that process your company will go for public bidding, and the highest bidder will take the company. But instead of doing that, the creditors, usually the banks, they can go for an agreement with the investors instead of a public bidding process. So this will This is an increasingly popular mechanism for insolvency resolution in UK and Europe. And remember, the investors will also inherit the debt of these companies. Okay. So let's see why we need pre-pack concept in India, because it will lead to quick resolution of compared to CIRP, that is Corporate Insolvency Resolution Process. Today, this process takes approximately 330 days in India under Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Okay, but this process, pre-pack process, might lead to quicker resolution and also minimizes disruptions to the business. That is, when this process is going on, when the creditors are finding investors, the business in the company can go as usual. That is, the customers of this company will not be affected under pre-pack process. But when it goes for public bidding, usually the company will halt all its operations unless the bidding process is completed. So this will create a disruption in company's operations. Okay, but here we can see it will minimize the disruptions. And there is also potential to reduce litigation. And this litigation is related to different corporate laws, income tax laws under different high courts and supreme courts of India. And there is a chance that these litigations might reduce by bringing the pre-pack insolvency framework. Let's see what Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code is about and what Insolvency and Bankruptcy of Board is about. So we saw about the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India. Let's see more about them. They were established in 1st of October, established on 1st of October 2016 under IBC code. And who is the chairman right now? The chairman is M.S. Saho. Dr. M.S. Saho is the chairman of this board. And this board is responsible for the implementation of the code, the IBC code. And the code deals with reorganization and insolvency resolution of corporate persons, partnership firms, and individuals in a time-bound manner. Like I said, 330 days. It cannot take more than this. It should not take more than this unless there is some litigation involved. Okay. And you have to note that the IBC is not involved with the resolution of banks or financial institutions. Banks or financial institutions. Okay. Because the government had brought a FRBI bill for resolution of banks or financial institutions. IBC deals only with corporate persons, partnership firms, and individuals. Okay, keep that in mind. And this, what is this corporate insolvency resolution process? So these are various steps taken to revive a company, such as raising fresh funds for operation, looking for a new buyer, etc. And these are done because there are very heavy outstanding debts and it is unsustainable to run the company as it is. So another person will be submitting a resolution plan for this company. And if that plan goes successful, they will take over the company and pay off the remaining debts to the various secured creditors. And in case the resolution plan is not submitted or is not approved by the committee of creditors, then the process is deemed to have failed, and this will result in the liquidation of the company. That is, liquidation means selling the assets of the company. If no resolution plan is arrived at, the creditors will start selling its assets. Okay, that's all you have to know here. The reason why I have asked this question is because it was frequently in news. You can see that the government was likely to finalize a pre-pack framework of resolution. You can see that the government was likely to finalize a pre-pack framework for resolution of MSMEs under IBC. And also IBC code pre-pack mechanism initially to be limited to MSME resolution. Understanding the proposed pre-packaged insolvency resolution process and its implications. So these are just from the headlines itself, you can understand it was in the context of insolvency and bankruptcy process. Okay, let's move on to the next question. This is on IR. So which of the following Indian states share boundary with Myanmar? So we have Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Mizoram, and Tripura. I'll give you 5 seconds to answer this question. The reason why I asked this question is because there was a lot of influx from Myanmar who are refugees to Indian states. So it is very important you understand that which of the states given here are vulnerable to such a migration. So the answer to this question is 1, 2, 3 and 4 only. Tripura will not come. So if you remove 5, the answer to this question is C. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. Tripura shares its boundary with only one other country, which is Bangladesh. Okay. See here. So this is the map of the Northeast India. Here you can see Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, and Mizoram. So Tripura shares its boundary only with Bangladesh. Okay, and you also have to note Arunachal Pradesh shares the largest boundary, 520 kilometers. See, Arunachal Pradesh 520 kilometers, whereas Mizoram is 510 kilometers, a close second. And also India and Myanmar border has a free movement regime. Okay, what does that mean? It means the people who are living in the border side, especially the tribes, they are allowed to travel 16 kilometers across either side of the border without visa restriction. Okay, so free movement regime India has with Myanmar, and this is becoming a cause of concern because it is increasing cross-border crimes like arms trafficking, counterfeit currency smuggling, drug trafficking, and insurgency. So to curtail this, the government is bringing the India-Myanmar barrier, which is a border barrier that India is constructing to seal its border with Myanmar. That's all we have here. Let's see why this question was asked. You can see here that the Home Ministry recently wrote to 4 northeastern states to check illegal influx from Myanmar. So we just saw what these 4 states are, and over 100 persons flee Myanmar and enter Mizoram village. So Mizoram is the most vulnerable state here. That is what we can see. India is grappling with a unique refugee problem in Northeast because of the military crackdown in Myanmar. Let's move on to the next question. Okay, this question is about the Great Reset Initiative. The Great Reset Initiative. So it is a proposal to revamp capitalism and to rebuild the economy sustainably following the pandemic. It was proposed by. You have 4 options here. I'll give you 5 seconds to give me an answer. Great Reset Initiative. It was proposed by World Economic Forum, WEF. Option B. Let's see more about this initiative. So the Great Reset is a proposal by WEF to rebuild the economy sustainably following the pandemic, because we saw that capitalism has no stakeholder interest. Capitalism does not put the interests of the stakeholders at front. It is mainly profit oriented, and it is creating a lot of problems, be it in the economic front, on the inequality front, or even in the climate change, or even from the environment perspective. So this is the capitalism as it is right now is aggravating inequality, aggravating climate change, and is aggravating the society. For instance, we saw how the billionaires, how much the billionaires are. For instance, we saw how much the Amazon, Google, Tesla, and Facebook, Apple, all of them, even though during the pandemic, they multiplied their wealth so much. Okay, this states that how unequal the society is, how bad a common man felt the events of the pandemic, but the tech billionaires, the tech companies, they multiplied their wealth. They increased their wealth multifold. Okay, so this concept was given by the founder and executive chairman of WEF, Klaus Schwab, and the concept is developed and based on the assessment that the world economy is in deep trouble. Events like the pandemic and the ongoing technological revolution and impacts of climate change have further worsened the global situation. Because since the pandemic came, every country in the world got affected, and not equally. The Western countries were affected differently, whereas the developing countries of Asia and Africa, they were affected very differently. So hence the concept of Great Reset suggests there is an urgent need to reform global societies and global economies. Reforms should be brought into every country and every industry of the world. And it is to mainly focus on reforming market-led capitalism into stakeholder capitalism. This is to ensure equality and sustainability in the long run, because the system as it is doing more damage than benefiting the society at large. Okay, let's move on to the next question. This is about the caracal wildcat species. We have three statements here. They are slender, medium-sized cats with long, powerful legs and tufted ears. Tufted ears means, let's say this is the cat, they will have a long ears like this. They are caracals. These are tufted ears. And it is said that they are found in wet evergreen forests of Africa and Asia. And the third statement says, in India, presence of these cats have been reported only from Gujarat. We have three statements here. Look for consistency. Look for consistency in these statements and give your answer in the comment box below. I'll give you 5 seconds. So the answer to this question is one only. That is option A, because I told you to look for consistency, because here we are talking about Gujarat, and in the second statement we are talking about wet evergreen forests. Okay, it is given. It is also given. It is only in Gujarat. So there is not much of a wet evergreen forests in Gujarat. So you can straight away eliminate option 3 and option 2 as well. You can straight away eliminate option 3. You can straight away eliminate option 3, and you have only 2 other options, option A and option C. And here it is given they have long, powerful legs. So what animal comes to you? So what animal comes to your mind when you think of long, powerful legs? Camels. So camels have long, powerful legs because they have to walk through the sands of Rajasthan. Okay, sands of the desert. So that's why they have long, powerful legs. And here is also, it is given they have, the cat species has long, powerful legs, which means their habitat will be dry and scrub region, not wet evergreen forests. So the answer becomes A, one only. Let's see about the species more in detail. So this is the cat species being talked about here. They have tufted ears and a slender body. They are medium-sized cats. Okay, and they have long, powerful legs. So why was it in news? It was in news because the National Board for Wildlife and Ministry of Environment included caracal in the critically endangered species under the Species Recovery Program. Remember, this critically endangered tag is not given by IUCN. Under IUCN, it is least concern. See, under IUCN, it is least concern, but under the Species Recovery Program of India, it is critically endangered. That is because it is a rare species in India, and it is also the population of them is declining in India. So their features, the caracals are shy, nocturnal, and elusive. They are difficult to spot in the wild. And so far they have been spotted only from 3 states. Those are Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, and Rajasthan. So this is the local name given to them in those regions. Hornotro means the killer of black buck. That's how they are called in Gujarat. Hornotro. Okay. And they are found in dry scrublands of southern and East Africa, as well as southern Sahara, Middle East, Central Asia, and Northwest India. So these are the places where you can find deserts. Their habitat is dry regions. Okay. Note their conservation status, least concern. They are under Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act, and they are also in the Appendix 1 of CITES Agreement. Let's see what the Species Recovery Program is about. So this Species Recovery Program has 3 components. It is a centrally funded scheme under the Integrated Development of Wildlife Habitats. So this is the mother scheme, Integrated Development of Wildlife Habitats. And under this, we have 3 components, and one of the component is Species Recovery Program. The other 2 components are support to protected areas and protection of wildlife outside protected areas. This is the first one. This is the second component, and Species Recovery Program is the third component. And this is mainly aimed at saving critically endangered species and habitats. These species are identified by National Board for Wildlife and the Ministry of Environment and Forestry. So far, the program has included 22 wildlife species under critically endangered tag. And in 2018 alone, it added 4 species, that is the northern river terrapin, clouded leopard, Arabian sea humpback whale, and red panda. You see, red panda is the state animal of Sikkim. Okay, and the other species which are included include the snow leopard, the bustard, dolphin, hangul, the state animal of Jammu and Kashmir, Nilgiri tar. This is the state animal of Tamil Nadu, dugongs, and this is the state animal of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So we have Asian wild buffalo, the state animal of Chhattisgarh, and Manipur Pro antler deers. These are the Sangai deers, which are found only in the Kebul-Lesmo National Park. And we also have Malabar civet, Indian rhinos, Asiatic lion of Gujarat, swamp deer, and Cherdon's horse. So if you see, the IUCN status of these animals are different than the status given under Species Recovery Program. Okay, don't confuse those two. Not all these animals are under critically endangered tag. They are under different tags as per IUCN. But India considers them as critically endangered under the Species Recovery Program. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Okay, let's see why this question was asked. Okay, let's see why the species was in the news. The caracal, a favorite of royals, now critically endangered. It was usually valued traditionally for its litheness and extraordinary ability to catch birds. So the royals used to take it along with them during hunting in medieval India. So it has a very royal history. So you can also see it is one of the India's rarest wild cats. Already we had lost cheetah. It used to be in India, but it got extinct in the 19th and 20th century. So we have already lost one wild cat. And if we lose this, this will become the second lost wildcat species. To avoid that only, we are taking many commendable efforts. To avoid that only, we are taking many commendable efforts. Sixth question. So here we have 3 important features, and they are asking the above features correspond to which of the following wetland. So the first one is permanent freshwater lake in a former channel of Brahmaputra river, an important bird sanctuary habituating many migrant species. Okay, and the only wetland in Assam under the Ramsar Convention. Okay, this clue is very, very easy. You should start from statement number 3. This is a very easy clue which will help you find the answer. The other 2 is pretty difficult because many of the wetlands habituate migrant species, and it is also given it is a former channel of the Brahmaputra river. So since they have given Brahmaputra river here, you can avoid Rudrasagar Lake because we know it is in Tripura. So out of these 3 options, it is given it is the only wetland under Ramsar Convention in Assam, which makes Dipur Bale as the answer. Answer for this question is option D. So Assam's only Ramsar site is Dipur Bale. So far we have 32 Ramsar sites as of 2021. And Dipur Bale is a freshwater lake designated as a Ramsar site in 2002. And it has 219 species of birds. And recently the district administration had prohibited community fishing, because this community fishing is an event that is done during the Bihu festival of Assam. Before the Bihu festival, mass fishing happens in many parts of the state, and it might result in affecting the landscape of this lake. So that is why the district administration banned community fishing, and the order was necessary to prevent fishing, excavation and construction in and around the wetland, and it has been shrinking over the years. So what is this Ramsar Convention? It is an international agreement promoting the conservation and wise use of wetlands. And it is the only global treaty to focus on a single ecosystem. It focuses only on wetlands. And the convention was adopted in 1971 in the Ramsar city of Iran. And it came to force in 1975. This is the background information that you need for Ramsar Convention. It was because of the community fishing banning. You can see it was banned by the district administration. It was to prevent the over-exploitation of the shrinking wetland, says local authorities. So this is how you have to relate the news with UPSC prelims. Some of you might have some of you might not understand how the questions are reflected in UPSC prelims based on the newspaper. So this is how. So this is how they are reflected. So from now on, when you read the newspaper itself, just try to understand how the question on your own and try solving it. Okay. So this will definitely help in assimilating whatever the information you are studying. Okay. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 7. This is with reference to FICCI. So it is a very popular organization in India. It features frequently in news. Okay. According to FICCI, with reference to FICCI, which of the following statements is or correct? It was established in 1927 on the advice of Mahatma Gandhi. Second statement says FICCI attended the 1930 Roundtable Conference even though Gandhiji stayed away from it. Select the incorrect answers. Okay. UPSC sometimes asks for incorrect answers too. You have to carefully pay attention. Okay. Both first and third Roundtable Conference are avoided by Congress and Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi only attended the second Roundtable Conference and it was also inconclusive. Here they are asking whether FICCI attended it or not. The answer to this question is true only. Second statement is only incorrect. First statement is true because Mahatma Gandhi wanted to create an organization of capitalists who will look after the interests of the country, who will be committed to creating an equal and sustainable society in the future. So that's why he encouraged the creation of FICCI in 1927, and FICCI totally opposed attending the Roundtable Conference without Mahatma Gandhi's approval. So let's see more about this in the coming slide. So FICCI was established on the advice of Mahatma Gandhi by two prominent capitalists, G.D. Birla and Purushottam Das Thakurdas. Okay, in 1930, FICCI in sharp contrast to the liberals. The liberals wanted to attend the conference, but FICCI advised its members to boycott the Roundtable Conference. So this is what they said: no conference convened for the purpose of discussing the problem of Indian constitutional advance can come to a solution unless such a conference is attended by Mahatma Gandhi as a free man or has at least his approval. So without Mahatma Gandhi or without Mahatma Gandhi's approval, any question of India's constitutional advance cannot come to a solution. That is what FICCI's official stand was in 1930. So FICCI is basically a non-governmental trade association and advocacy group. To this day, it has more than 25,000 members, individuals and companies alike, and it draws its membership mainly from the corporate sector, and it mainly helps with lobbying as well as networking. Okay, it has people from both public and private sectors, including small and medium enterprises as well as MNCs. So it is a very multicultural, multinational grouping. Okay, and it is also involved in sector-specific business building, business promotion, as well as networking. This is their logo, and it is headquartered in New Delhi. Okay, that's all you have to know here. Let's move on to the next question. So which of the following factors act as a hindrance towards adopting 5G in India? They're asking which of the following factors could act as a challenge in implementing 5G in India? Expensive spectrum prices, lack of uniform policy framework, debt scenario in the industry, low optical fiber penetration, need to replace old devices. We have 5 factors given here. The answer to this question is all of the above. All the factors might act as hindrance towards adopting 5G in India. Okay, so let's see what could be the challenges in deploying 5G technology in India. So a huge investment is required, first of all. That is, India needs a massive 5 lakh crore investment. And this investment is needed to upgrade the existing infrastructure. And secondly, expensive spectrum prices. India's spectrum prices are some of the highest in the world. And these prices are decided by TRAI and the Ministry of Communication. So this, the spectrum is also expensive. And given that the scenario has a huge debt, a collective debt of telecom service providers at 4.2 lakh crore. Because of this, the spectrum becomes unaffordable for many of the players. And we also have very few players in the telecom sector. After the advent of Jio, there are only 2 to 3 players in this sector. And there is also a lack of uniform policy framework, because across states, there is different procedures and it is very complex. For example, land acquisition and deploying optical fiber cables, those and all, the policies vary from state to state, and this is also creating a hindrance. And the third statement, low optical fiber penetration. Yes, India lacks basic infrastructure foundation for 5G adoption. And there is also high import of equipments happening. That is due to the lack of local manufacturing and R&D. Indian telecom providers are highly dependent on imported 5G tech equipments, and this is very, very costly. And this is also highly taxed. India has formulated schemes like a PLI, that is a production linked incentive scheme, etc., to promote this local manufacturing of telecom equipment. Okay, but still, most of the sectors, most of the players are highly dependent on imported equipments. And also you have to note, there is a need to replace old devices. So there will come a question of economic feasibility for the public. Many of the old devices will need to be replaced as they cannot support 5G. Okay, so the end consumer might think about switching to 5G. And there is also a possibility of increased digital divide. That is, mainly the 5G networks will be deployed in urban areas. So this will leave behind the rural areas, and this might increase the digital divide. So all of these could act as challenges in deploying 5G tech in India. Let's move on to the next question on government schemes. So which Indian state is the first in the country to get certification for kiwi under Mission Organic Value Chain Development for Northeastern region? So this is the scheme that is being talked about here, and you have to know which of the following state got organic certification for kiwi. I'll give you 5 seconds. The answer to this question is option A, Arunachal Pradesh. So this is the kiwi fruit. This is also called Chinese miracle fruit or New Zealand's horticultural wonder fruit. Okay. So recently Arunachal kiwi got organic certification under the scheme. And this is a scheme for northeastern states, exclusively northeastern states, by Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. And Arunachal recently became the first country to get this certification for kiwi. These kiwis are grown in Zero Valley in the lower Subansiri district in Arunachal Pradesh, because the climatic conditions of this place highly support kiwi cultivation. And this organic certification is given by APEDA, Agricultural and Processed Foods Products Export Development Authority. This is because you cannot cultivate any product and call it organic. You have to undergo certain certification process. Okay, and this certification will ensure that no chemical fertilizers or pesticides is involved in its cultivation process. Only then APIDA will give such a certification, and this certification helps in marketability of the fruit even in international markets. Okay, this is a recognition which this might improve the prices. This might help the farmers get better prices, as well as it will help in marketability of the fruit. Let's move on to the next question, the final question for today. Saguna rice technique. Okay, Saguna rice technique recently in seen is used to avoid locust attacks, stop the stubble burning, double the rice yield, or reduce groundwater dependence. It was frequently in use in the past 2 to 3 years, and it is mainly used to stop the stubble burning. The answer is boy. Okay, Saguna rice technique. It is a zero till technique. That is, the land is not tilled. So this will help in stopping the stubble burning problem in Punjab and Haryana. This method is mainly used to cultivate rice and related rotation crops without ploughing or puddling or transplanting rice on permanent raised beds. So the existing stubble is left. It is left in the bed for slow rotting. They are not tilled. SRT facilitates planting of crop in predetermined distances, enabling precise plant population per unit area. That is also you have to note. It has 3 important principles. That is, SRT insists all roots and small portion of the stem should be left in the beds. That is zero till process, and no ploughing, puddling, or hoeing to be done to control weeds. And SRT will get the crop ready for harvesting 8 to 10 days earlier. So this is a process from which we can avoid late winter rains. So winter rains at the later stages will spoil the rice or related rotation crop. But in SRT technique, this can be avoided because it makes the crop ready 8 to 10 days earlier. So these are the various advantages related to Saguna technique, Saguna rice technique. And here it is given a farmer can save 50% of water, 40% cost of production, and the no transplanting saves him 50% labor, both in costs as well as in physical input. So this is what the technique is about. It was started in Maharashtra, and now the states of Punjab and Haryana are actively promoting this technique to avoid stubble burning. Let's see how this came in the news. Raigad farmers are switching to the innovative Saguna technique and cultivating rice with less water. Maharashtra's agri innovator invited to Punjab to address the stubble burning issue. So the person who invented this is Chandrasekhar Badsable, and he is the recipient of Maharashtra's Krishi Ratna and Krishi Bhushan awards. He is the one behind this Saguna rice technique. And this technology can also help solve India's pollution woes, especially in the northwestern India. That's all you have to note here. We have come to the end of the session. Let's quickly see a recap of all the questions that we saw today. The first question, we saw the borrowed features in Indian Constitution. And here we also saw the pre-packs of insolvency resolution process. And we saw the Myanmar refugee crisis and how it might affect the Indian states. So it is important to understand which states share boundary with Myanmar. And then we saw the Great Reset initiative of WEF and the need to adopt stakeholder capitalism. We saw caracal species from the dry and scrublands of northwestern India, especially in the states of Gujarat, Rajasthan, and Madhya Pradesh. Okay, it is recently included in the species recovery program. We saw Dipur Bale, the only wetland in Assam, and we saw about FICCI, and which was instated in 1927 on the advice of Gandhiji. And we saw about the challenges that might come in the way in deploying 5G technology in India. We also saw about Arunachal Kiwi, which got its first organic certification under the Mission for Organic Value Chain Development. for northeastern region. And finally, we saw Saguna rice technique. Okay, so this might help in stopping the stubble burning issues in Punjab and Haryana. Okay, that's all the questions that we saw today. Have a quick recap and all the best. Prepare well. In case you have any questions, let me know in the comment box. I will happily give my inputs to help you solve them. If you don't have any questions, let's wrap up this session. And I also want you to stay tuned for the upcoming sessions day after tomorrow. Okay, so keep preparing. All the best, students. You will do well. And kindly, if you have not applied for the UPSC exam, apply today itself. Thank you.